check out these guys. I mean, look at the color on them. They are a thing of beauty, if I do say so myself. Today, we're making competition style chicken thighs for the backyard. We're doing it on the Yoder. Let's get into it. So let's go over all the things we're gonna need to make our chicken thighs today. Obviously, first off, we need some chicken thighs. These are some organic air-chilled chicken thighs. We got a couple of those. We're gonna need some seasoning. We'll talk about these in a little bit. You are gonna need yourself a pan to put these in. Some butter, because butter makes everything better, and really a sharp knife and a little bit of patience. All right, so let's get these guys out and I'll show you how we prep them here. Now, first off, one of the things that I did is I paid special attention to what I was buying. If there was any tears in the skin or anything like that, or they didn't quite cover up the thigh properly, I skipped on that package. So your goal is really, we want to get a bunch of good ones. Not everyone will be perfect, so you do a couple extra and away you go. Now, I'm not making these for competition. I don't even do competition, but these are great presentation, and if you do them right, they're going to be delicious. So all we got to do here is I'm going to put on another set of gloves here first. We got to take our skin off. Okay, so the big thing here is you want to get your fingers underneath of it and not tear it. So find the edge there, slowly but surely get this guy off here. Really stuck at the end there. There we go. All right. We will put this guy off to the side here, but remember you want to do these kind of one at a time because we want to make sure that we match the right size and everything. Now, this is a bone-in, so what we want to do here is we want to look at both edges, right? So there's a little bit of fat here. We don't want to be biting through fat, so we're going to take that off like so. We really want this to be in the middle, right? So we've got this much on this side. We want to put the same on the other side, and we're trimming off all that fat. Okay, now we're starting getting a respectable looking thigh. We're going to take off this fat too. I'm going to square us up a little bit. When these are done, we want them to look like little pillows, really. So take your time to trim them properly, and you can mince up that chicken or do whatever you want with it when you're done. You're going to have a little pile there. All right, so now we've got chicken thigh there. What we need to do now is we need to get ready to wrap this guy up and set it up for success. So obviously we've got this hole here. We don't really care about that. But our goal is to have enough so that we can kind of wrap around it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of take this bone down a little bit. Even this guy's going to be in the way. So our goal here is to have enough to wrap it. Now this one, because we've got that tear that wasn't us, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult, but what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and just stretch this out as far as we can, and we will kind of take this off like so. It's going to shrink, right? So we want enough to wrap and cover it up. Okay, get rid of that guy. Didn't quite have enough to get what I want on this one. I think once we tuck it in, we should be okay. But basically what we're looking for is some little chicken pillows like that. Okay, put that guy off and we'll look at another one. Now, if you were doing this in true competition, you would be trimming this meat back a little bit more so that you can completely cover the thigh with the skin and kind of tuck it underneath. Obviously, I'm not doing competition, so I'm going to get it close, but I don't want to waste too much chicken. There's no point, it's just me eating it. So let me run through and do these other ones, and then I'll bring you back for the next steps. All right, so after about 20 minutes and a little bit of patience, maybe a lot of patience, depending who you are, the one thing I'll tell you, a couple little tips here. After you do a few, you start to feel how far you can pull on that skin without breaking it. So they started to go quicker and quicker the more that I did them. But I did find on a couple of them, I was kind of rubbing my thumbs around the bottom of there, and I found some bone that wasn't trimmed away on the outside near the meat. So when you're doing these, make sure that you're doing that, especially if you're trimming off the bone a little bit. Depending on, I switched to the proper knife after I turned off the camera, but you know, when you cut that, sometimes there's little fragments of bone around there. So I just used my fingers, rubbed up and down the meat, and made sure there was no bones there, so that when we bite into it, we don't get any little unhappy surprises, I guess we'll call it. So now what we've got to do is we've got to get these guys ready and kind of season them up. 2 different seasonings on these guys. I'm gonna try and see if I can keep one hand clean. But what we're gonna do here is I'm going to do them one at a time because you want to make sure that the skin matches. And we're going in with some Meat Church Blanco. This is like an all-purpose rub with some garlic and some onion powder in it and a couple other little things. It is super, super tasty. As you can see, I'm almost done. I've used a bunch of it. I got it right when it was brand new, and I do have a discount code for Meat Church products and a whole bunch of other things at bbq.com if that interests you. So what we're doing here is we're putting a nice little coating like so on the chicken itself. Then we're covering it up. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull in some Yoder chicken rub. This stuff is delicious. Really enjoy it. I use a lot of it, but we're gonna put that on the outside. But I think what I'll do is I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll kind of just go through and not make you watch me do them all, but you wanna put a nice even coat on the skin here. If you've got any clumps, obviously it's gonna ruin the presentation. And then what you can do is just kind of pick up the side and push it in like so. That was able to pick up more than enough. So I'm gonna do the same thing with this side. And now we've got one little spot there. Now what we're gonna do is we'll put them in here. All right, we can give a final touch up just from moving them around, but that's what it's gonna look like. I'm gonna zip through these other ones. Show you one more just in case, but we're peeling back our skin and we're doing a nice little coating of some Blanco all the way around, putting it back in our skin and wrapping up our present here. Like so. I'm gonna have to get my hands and the bottles a little dirty, but just remember, if you're touching your bottles or whatever, when you're using season like this, wash them off when you're done. The other thing you can do is you can stick a glove on them, and that way you can handle them, just get rid of the glove. But let me zip through these guys, and I just wanna fix the skin on here, then we'll put a coating of the Yoder on here. I'll get these guys done, and then we'll talk about how we're gonna cook them. All right, so our chicken thighs are looking delicious so far. We've got them nicely seasoned up. I did go over them one more time once I put them in the container here, and we've got one more step. We're gonna add a little bit of butter because butter makes everything better. Put that like so. I think we'll put 3 on each side because these are pretty wide slices, like so. All right, so now that we've got our chicken prepped, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give time for our seasoning and our chicken to get to know one another. We have to go outside. We're gonna fire up our Yoder. Today we're using Bear Mountain hickory pellets. We're gonna run at 300 degrees. And once our Yoder is up to temperature, then we'll bring the chicken out and put it on outside. So after about 25 minutes, the Yoder was up to temperature. Now it's sunny outside, but it's about like 34, 35 Fahrenheit, about 1 degree for my Canadian friends. And it's cold. So it took a little while to come up to temperature. And that just gave extra time for that seasoning and the chicken to get to know one another. Then we put it on the top rack, uncovered. What I did is I put it a little over towards the stack. I don't want that heat from the firebox coming up. I just want it to cook. We're sitting at 300 degrees. We're gonna go for an hour uncovered. So it's been exactly 1 hour. As you can see, the chicken is looking pretty darn good. That butter is nicely melted, and overall our chicken's looking good, but it's got a ways to go. So what we've done now is I just covered it in foil, and we're gonna let it go for about another 45 minutes. Now we're looking for a temperature probably around 200 for a finished product. We're gonna push this way beyond your traditional 150, 155. We want a nice flavorful bite through skin in our end product. So we're gonna let it go for about 45 minutes. The one thing I'm gonna do is in 30 minutes, I'm going to dump some barbecue sauce into a container, and I'm gonna put it on the Yoder so I can bring it up to temperature. That's gonna help thin it out, but also when we dunk our chicken in it, it's not gonna cool them off at all. But I'll bring you back for those steps after we're ready to give our chicken a little bath and some sauce. All right, so it's been another 45 minutes. Our chicken has hit 200. And now we gotta give it a little bath. Let's have a look how we did. Not too bad. This is why you make a whole bunch of them. As you can see that the skin kind of rose up on that one. This one looks really good. That one looks really good. That one does, and so does that one. So I'd have 4 good ones. Actually, you know what? That one's 2, 4, 5. I'd have 5 good ones out of here. You know, typically what would happen is I trim the meat down just a little bit more so you get more of a wrap. But this is backyard competition style thighs. So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna dunk them in some sauce. About 15 minutes ago, I mixed up some of this Meat Mitch Womp sauce and about a tablespoon of vinegar sauce, or apple cider vinegar, just to thin it out a little bit. And I stuck it on the Yoder, warmed it up, and now we're gonna give these guys a little bit of a dunk. The one thing about this is you wanna be able to dunk them in there so they get a nice coating. And then I've got a rack here. We're just gonna put these on a rack. So let's put this over here so that we can not drop our sauce all over the place. These are super tender. Put those underneath. Now we're gonna put them on a rack like that. Oh man. Really, ideally, I think you'd probably use a little bit more sauce normally so you could get full coverage, but we're gonna make this work. Trying to get the best ones first. They're super hot, so I've got some, oh man. I've actually never tried this Womp sauce before. Took a little thumbful, fingerful. It's actually not too bad. I see Meats Church use it all the time. It's one of his favorite sauces, so I decided it was time for me to give it a shot. Last but not least, this guy here. Here we go. A little messy. And just so you know, like these are just white cotton gloves. You can get them on Amazon. I think I have a link in my store or whatever. But when you're dealing with something that's super hot, you put some white cotton underneath the gloves. So you get the benefits of the gloves and not having to get your hands all dirty, but you need some insulation for the heat. So, I mean, before they're tacked up, they're looking pretty good. We're gonna give them, it's still rolling at 300, so we're gonna give these guys about 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes. I'm just gonna put her on just like so. Let's put them on the Yoder. All right, so I went 15 minutes. I could have used a little bit more vinegar to thin it out a little bit. Took a little while for it to tack up, but I gotta say they look pretty damn pretty, I guess, is what I'm looking at. I mean, it's a good looking thigh. They are super, super hot still. I was gonna pick one up, but I think I'm gonna let them cool down even more. But they're gonna cool down for a little bit, and if they taste half as good as they look, I'll be super happy. This is actually the first time I've ever gone through this process. To be transparent, so I wanted to try it out and hopefully encourage you to give it a try yourself. If you're trying to cook something like this, I think they're gonna be delicious. Let's let them cool down for about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll give them a try. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. As you can see, I tried to plate these guys up for a thumbnail, and it's a good thing I'm not entering competitions because I didn't have the right lettuce, and presentation-wise, I would say that we're not gonna hit top marks, but look at the color. It's really popping on with that green background. They are a little tacky because of the sauce, but we're gonna dig in. We're gonna give our first bite here together. I got some paper towel ready. Ooh, they're still quite warm. Let's see what happens here. Not quite bite through, let me see. I'll tell you what, flavor-wise, those things, there's a lot going on there. Those layers of flavor and then adding that sauce, these are quite good. It's a shame the skin isn't quite bite through. Maybe it's just that one. Let's try another one. Okay. Should have tried that one first. That one, no problem. So, looks like I could have pushed them just a little bit longer. But I'll tell you what, for a first attempt, these are really good. And regardless of whether or not the skin's fully bite through, the flavor packs a punch. They're absolutely delicious. If you haven't tried something like this before, this is the world telling you, give it a try. Thanks as always for watching. I'll see you soon.